After struggling to right the ship, Intel's CEO has decided to retire. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with a story of a so far unsuccessful AI turnaround. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger has abruptly stepped down from the troubled US chipmaker. According to Bloomberg reporting, the shock announcement came after a board meeting to receive a progress report on plans to win back market share from Nvidia. Apparently that didn't go so well, with sources stating that Gelsinger was given the option to retire or be forced out. There is no replacement in mind, with the firm's CFO and executive VP sharing the role while the board searches for a new CEO. Gelsinger was heralded as the company's savior when he was installed in 2021. He worked for the company for over 3 decades, starting as a teenager in 1979. He's credited as the chief architect of the seminal 486 processor, and spending a decade as the company's CTO, Gelsinger was central to the golden age of Intel. And that was the vision he presented a little over 3 years ago, a return to Intel's glory years. His plan was to expand the company's network of chip foundries and reestablish Intel as the world's largest chipmaker. This included a massive new complex in Ohio and upgrades to their Arizona, New Mexico, and Oregon facilities. To carry out this grand vision, the company was earmarked for $8 billion in the CHIPS Act and positioned as a national champion for U.S. chipmaking. Intel is viewed as a strategically important company as it's one of the few chip manufacturers that could credibly compete with TSMC. Nvidia is also a critical U.S. company in the sector, but they don't operate their own fabs, so can't easily substitute. Gelsinger's plans fell apart almost immediately. PC sales declined sharply in the latter half of 2021 as work-from-home arrangements were wound back. The company then lost valuable customers in Waymo and Sony, failing to win the contract to manufacture PlayStation 5 processors. None of the new U.S. fabs are up and running, and the foundry business has been restructured into an independent business. This was celebrated by shareholders as a way to enable the company to seek external customers, but it was also a sign that Intel wasn't seeing enough chip demand to justify the fabs they already had, let alone build new ones. Interviews made it sound like Gelsinger was getting nowhere fast. In a 2022 interview with The Verge, he said, "Not only do we have to rebuild the internal culture and execution, but we also have to rebuild our customers' confidence." The company reported $7 billion in operating losses last year and laid off 15,000 workers in August as part of a $10 billion cost-cutting exercise. With his failure to deliver now acknowledged, Gelsinger said in a press release, "Leading Intel has been the honor of my lifetime. This group of people is among the best and brightest in the business, and I'm honored to call each and every one a colleague. Today is of course bittersweet, as this company has been my life for the bulk of my working career. I can look back with pride at all that we have accomplished together. It has been a challenging year for all of us as we made tough but necessary decisions to position Intel for the current market dynamics." And from here, it's a big question about whether Intel has a path to recovery. Its latest round of consumer processors were met with a lukewarm reception, failing to deliver meaningful improvements. Tests of their next-generation 18A manufacturing process have hit problems with uneconomic yields and won't be in full production until 2026. With the departure of Lip-Bu Tan in August, the company now has 0 board members with semiconductor experience. Qualcomm approached the company for an acquisition in September, and it seems increasingly likely that may be the way the Intel story ends. Frank Yeary, the chairman of the board, said on Monday, "With new leadership, we will continue to act with urgency on our priorities, simplifying and strengthening our product portfolio and advancing our manufacturing and foundry capabilities while optimizing our operating expenses and capital. We are working to create a leaner, simpler, more agile Intel." In other words, the exact same goals, aside from perhaps slimming down the company, that Gelsinger brought to the table in 2021. The stock chart probably says it all. A 5% jump as the news broke, with the market recognizing that a much-needed change was happening, then a full collapse to close the day lower in recognition that a simple CEO swap probably won't fix what's broken. Next up, another story in the chip space. Jeff Bezos has joined a massive bet on challenger chipmaking startup Tenstorin. The company has closed almost $700 million in Series D funding that would value the company at $2.6 billion. The round was led by Samsung Securities and AFW Partners, with participation from Hyundai and Healthcare of Ontario Pension Plan. The goal of the startup is simple, if ambitious: to take market share from Nvidia. The company is led by Jim Keller, formerly AMD's chip design guru. He was the lead architect of the AMD K8, which underpinned the Athlon 64, the first 64-bit processor available for consumer-grade hardware. Keller was also involved in designing the Apple A4 and A5 processors, alongside many other AMD architectures. The big bet seems to be that Keller can deliver a revolutionary AI architecture for cutting-edge 2-nanometer chips expected to come to market by 2027. In the shorter term, the company is focused on solving for power use and cost efficiency. They are building largely on open source and more commonplace technology, allowing them to use cheaper components and offer greater interpretability than Nvidia. Keller said, "In the past, I worked with proprietary tech and it was really tough. Open source helps you build a bigger platform. It attracts engineers. And yes, it's a little bit of a passion project. In contrast, of course, Nvidia produces their own proprietary ecosystem to completely surround their AI chips. From interconnects and data center layouts to the software used to train models, Nvidia controls their entire infrastructure stack. Tenstorrent plans to release a new AI processor every 2 years, which is half the release speed of Nvidia. The company, which was founded back in 2016, will produce their first mass production run next year using TSMC and Samsung fabs. To date, the company has $150 million in customer contracts, and Keller seems pretty focused on getting going, tweeting, "Round D closed. $693 million. Many thanks to our investors. Lots to do. Let's get to work." Lastly today, something which I have a feeling we are going to get way more into in the future. World Labs has unveiled their first project, an AI world generator. The startup, founded by Fei-Fei Li, the so-called godmother of AI, has demoed a system that can generate a 3D world based on a single image. They're calling the tech spatial intelligence, but other segments of the industry refer to the emerging category as world models. In a blog post, World Labs wrote, "This lets you step into any image and explore it in 3D. Beyond the input image, all is generated." We've already seen a bunch of Gen AI products that can create video and static 3D environments from reference images, but this product creates scenes that are fully interactive and modifiable. One example is a scene of a medieval village. The user is in full control and can walk down the alleyways that weren't visible in the source image. There's also a very cool demo where the user can stroll the streets of Paris as depicted in Café Terrace at Night by Van Gogh. World Labs wrote, "Most generative AI tools make 2D content like images or videos. Generating in 3D instead improves control and consistency. This will change how we make movies, games, simulators, and other digital manifestations of our physical world." Like I said, there is a lot here to come back to. There are some who think that this is a better path to reaching AGI than just training on a bunch of text data. And so I'm sure we will be coming back to this. But for now, check out worldlabs.ai, and you can actually walk around and demo some of these experiences. For now, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.